Last video, I outlined an idea that I'll call water economy. The concept attempts to shift our economy from being consumer-driven to being resource-driven. I do love nature, but the concept is just as much an attempt to stabilize economic growth. We are taking out loans on future environmental health which we have no intention of paying off. The market should not exhaust the bounty of the land. A possible solution to our potential economic destruction of the environment is to follow Earth's biorhythms when we produce and move goods. For example, most food produced in this watershed boundary should stay there. This brings up some major issues with the way our world currently works. One is population redistribution. Some cities are so big that they have to borrow unreasonable amounts of goods from other regions. That issue will be the focus of this video. Why do people live where they live? In the past, people settled where they found water and a place they could defend. With our growing ability to rearrange the environment, those things matter less and less. Some cities have outgrown their region's ability to provide for its citizens. We currently have no process for determining when this might be happening. Cities grow by the jobs they produce and the lifestyle they offer, and neither of those things are connected to the environment any longer. I think the most glaring examples of overgrown cities run on short-sighted economic principles are large desert cities. Take Los Angeles. It runs on a water deficit to support its rapid growth. Los Angeles was a small ranch town until railroads and oil changed its history around 1850. In that year, it was seized from Mexico and California became a U.S. state. By 1900, the population of 102,000 was already straining its water supply. A new aqueduct built by William Mulholland in 1913 and expanded to reach Mono Lake in 1940 solved this issue. The Los Angeles population exploded during this time period, but it all came at a price. Through this aqueduct, the Owens Lake Basin was left completely dry for the first time in tens of thousands of years. Now Los Angeles residents depend on Mono Lake and its levels are getting dangerously low. As these lakes run dry, not only do people's demand of water reach a level of danger, but the environment is thrown out of balance. Many species depending on Owens Lake or Mono Lake have gone extinct or become endangered. Dust storms have become a problem in the region due to lack of water. Additionally, the Los Angeles aqueduct crosses the Sierra Nevada mountain range in a major fault line. An inevitable earthquake puts millions of citizens at danger of water shortage. The truth is that the Los Angeles aqueduct was completed so recently in the grand scope of Earth history that its effects on the environment will be unnoticeable until they become severe and lasting. We could have just as likely decided that the city was a good size at around 100,000 people instead of cramming around 4 million into this desert area. There are some stories discussing the character of Los Angeles and its relation to water which will help us understand the scope of this issue. As I love to point out, these stories don't come from nowhere. They are marketable because people relate to them. From an artistic standpoint, they rise out of the subconscious to address something that is deeply troubling to the soul. Take the movie Chinatown. It is regarded as one of the best movies of all time and is based on the water wars by which Mulholland constructed his famous aqueduct. Chinatown follows powerful, shady figures redirecting the city's water and exaggerating the suffering of underprivileged neighborhoods. I'm telling you, we just wake up and turn the faucet on, but the way that water got to you almost always came through figures who stood something to gain by shaping the future. It's becoming more and more clear that the shady dealings of public water rarely have principles like public health and sustainability at the forefront. Sadly, our values are misaligned. Our economic and environmental decisions prove that we value wealth more than health. The battle for more wealth becomes pretty disturbing when it is tied to people's ability to survive. Los Angeles enters drought regularly, and each time the wealthy are more likely to live as normal. If a catastrophic water event were to strike the city, the wealthy would have access to life. But no matter how wealthy you are, you can't buy your way out of a natural disaster. Pat Mulroy, who works for the Southern Nevada Water Authority, puts it well: we have engineered our way out of nature. This realization injects an apocalyptic level of eeriness into the mundane daily life. This is the knowledge that we have worked our moral inadequacy into a fortress of concrete, steel, and glass. A fortress unassailable to ourselves, but still all too vulnerable to nature. This is why a song like Hotel California resonates with such depth. It describes a structure, a hotel, that personifies the shared life in Los Angeles. At the same time, it describes a mental state that is one and the same with the character of the hotel. By checking into the hotel, the narrator is signing on to all the wicked things that happen there. The hotel is described as being either heaven or hell upon a first glance. The song paints such a disturbing and memorable dichotomy because it contextualizes some of our greatest human accomplishments as wicked dreams. This is shown in the song by hotel residents who are each prisoners of their own device. Part of the seductive trap is that any time of year, you can find it here. There is an inherent evil in producing any luxury for anyone at any time. The earth does not operate on these principles, and when we demand that it does, it produces lack in proportion to that unjustified wealth. We may think it a small thing, waking up on a methodically engineered mattress, driving to work in a 2,000-pound steel vehicle on a grid-line asphalt road, sitting in air conditioning and connecting to the internet, eating intercontinental produce and sending our waste to landfills every day. You have to focus on things other than your interaction with an environmentally straining power grid, or else you'll drive yourself crazy. But truthfully, we have constructed a system of resource allocation that opposes its supporting ecological framework. We are biting the hand that feeds us. Not a good model to complacently participate in. No one seems to care about the big picture. Small towns are dying in America and big cities keep getting bigger. In the process, we are severing our connection with the environment. The continued growth of urban centers that have already outgrown their ecological region comes at the expense of other areas which could just as likely support healthy communities if their health wasn't siphoned to wealthy urban centers. This is slave labor logic, which affords the unjustified desires of one by the suffering of another. Not only does this amplify the suffering of those living in ecologically strained areas, but it wears on the psyche of those who benefit from this transaction. This is why Los Angeles has the reputation described in Hotel California. This is why anxiety and depression are on the rise en masse. We have lost our way in over-engineering an ugly and uniform society of need. We recognize this on a deep level, and it disturbs us subconsciously. What we truly want is right relationship within oneself, with each other, and with the environment. When we engineer a society that makes it increasingly more difficult to do any of those things, the impending sense of anxiety and restlessness reaches a breaking point. Our technology has increased mental unwellness, isolation, and environmental destruction. Maybe we should use our technology to understand and mimic natural rhythms of life. Otherwise, Mother Nature may foreclose on our loan.